From a flaming turbine in Crowell, Texas that couldn't survive a lightning storm, and a unit in India that collapsed after losing one of its blades, to a maintenance crew in the Irish Sea who made the biggest mistake of their lives, and a demolition in Texas that sent a turbine crashing to the ground. Here are 10 wind turbine failures caught on camera. India is now the most populated country on Earth. As such, the energy demand skyrocketed as the population grew. India committed itself to being a world leader in the clean energy game. They currently produce the 4th most wind energy on Earth, behind Germany, the US, and China. But the more turbines you add, the more accident-prone you become. Just ask these locals who live outside a large wind farm. On March 3rd of 2015, they watched one of the blades fly off a nearby turbine. Then, the whole thing came crashing down. Turbine blades keep the entire system balanced. If one breaks off, the whole thing falls out of whack. As they keep spinning, the remaining blades put a ton of pressure on the system. The frame eventually weakens and crumbles like a pile of twigs. Thankfully, one down turbine doesn't derail the entire operation. Home to about 5.8 million people, Campania is the 3rd most populated region in Italy. It's one of the most industrialized places on the Italian peninsula. As such, wind energy is in pretty high demand. On February 7th of 2017, Italian drivers slammed on the brakes when they saw a wind turbine spinning out of control. The wind was blowing extremely fast that day, apparently too fast for this turbine to keep up. Clearly, nobody wanted to risk driving underneath. All these drivers thought the same thing. As soon as I drive under that thing, it's going to explode. They would have been right. Look at how fast the blades fly in 3 directions. Thankfully, they didn't hit anything important. You would think that faster wind equals more energy efficiency, which is true up to a point. That point is called the rated speed. It keeps turbines from blowing too fast during windstorms, hurricanes, and tornadoes. If the wind pushes the turbine past maximum power, it automatically shuts down to prevent damage. So, someone either forgot to set this turbine's rated speed, or it just malfunctioned. Luling, Texas is a small town about an hour northeast of San Antonio. A stretch of the Union Pacific Railroad passes through Luling at the intersection of US 90 and US 183. The locals are used to halting traffic when the trains need to pass. One truck driver didn't get the memo. In late August of 2021, a semi-truck carrying a wind turbine blade tried to make a risky right turn. The truck driver swears he was 2/3 of the way over the tracks before the signal arms came down. We'll let you be the judge.
Oh my God. 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 Oh shit. Oh my God.
Our cameraman couldn't believe what he was seeing. The truck was just about to make it before the train obliterated the turbine. You can see when the signal arm comes down over the truck bed. Since backing up wasn't an option, the driver decided to gun it. According to reports, some workers on the train had to be treated for minor injuries. Witnesses said a steady stream of trucks had already carried several turbine blades across the tracks. This last driver was either incredibly unlucky or extremely impatient. Bocholt is a city in northern Germany, closer to Amsterdam in the Netherlands than the German capital of Berlin. Germany has plenty of turbines. They're the world's third largest producer of wind energy after all. As technology evolves, old units are torn down to make way for new ones. On May 3rd of 2013, a demolition crew arrived to take down a turbine outside the city. But instead of dismantling it piece by piece, they decided to use some steel wire and gravity. It seems easier to knock the turbine over and dismantle it from there. Looking closely, you can see the steel wires stretching from the top of the pole. We imagine they had it connected to a truck or a heavy-duty winch. According to the EPA, today's turbines are built to last 20 years. From there, crews can upgrade the hardware or tear it down to build new ones. Thankfully, about 85% of the components can be recycled or reused. This includes all the copper wires, the massive steel frame, and most of the electrical components. Aarhus, Denmark is the second largest city in the country. It's also one of the oldest cities in Denmark, dating back to the Viking days. Today, they're home to about 280,000 people. In 2013, they became the world's first wind-made local authority. That means they get 25% of their energy from wind power. But getting to 25% wasn't the easiest road. On February 22nd of 2008, a strong storm passed through the countryside. One of the turbines outside the city couldn't stand up to the wind, leading to this classic video. According to reports, the turbine exploded when one of the blades bent back and hit the tower. Pieces of fiberglass flew as far as 1,600 feet away from the unit. 2 days later, another turbine collapsed in a nearby town. This tower was already 10 years old. They probably expected it to last a little longer. The Ormond Wind Farm is a 3.4 square mile facility in the Irish Sea. Construction began in 2010, about 6 miles off the UK coast. The project wrapped 2 years later, and the wind farm was fully operational in 2012. Things operated without issue for nearly a decade. Then they had a little accident in 2021. On October 23rd of 2021, a Swedish energy company called Vattenfall arrived to perform some routine maintenance. They used a heavy-duty crane system to closely examine the massive blades. Then, tragedy struck. Imagine calling your boss with that level of bad news. It looks like one of the blades snapped on the boat and toppled over into the water. It only took a few seconds for the entire thing to sink. People off the coast of Barrow, a port town in Cumbria County, began finding pieces of the turbine washed up on the shore. According to Crane Hub, yes, that's a real website, one of the lifting gears failed, causing the turbine to fall. Thankfully, nobody was hurt when the turbine crashed into the water. If you drive about 3.5 hours northwest of Dallas, you'll end up in the small town of Crowell, Texas, close to the Oklahoma border. News travels fast in small places like Crowell. In late July of 2022, all 800 residents heard about a massive smoke cloud rising in the sky. A lightning storm had just passed over the town. As we know, lightning tends to strike the tallest objects in sight. So, when the storm passed over a wind farm, it didn't shock anyone when the turbine got hit. What happened next had the whole town buzzing. The lightning bolt struck the gearbox, setting the whole turbine on fire. The flames spread as the rotors kept spinning. The locals could only watch as the turbine slowly disintegrated. The Crowell Volunteer Fire Department showed up moments later, but the blaze was too much to handle. The fire chief said his crew would be fighting a losing battle. There were 800 gallons of oil in the gearbox and another 1,300 gallons in the ground-level transformer. That's why the smoke appeared thick and black. The fire department wasn't equipped to handle something like that. All they could do was wait and prevent the fire from spreading. Thankfully, the flames only impacted one turbine across the entire 31,000-acre renewable energy complex. Hermleigh, Texas might have more wind turbines than people. That's thanks to the Pyron Wind Farm, which provides clean energy across Scurry County in northeastern Texas. Old turbines must come down to make way for new ones. In late August of 2021, demolition teams took down 21 turbines with controlled explosions. Here's what one of them looked like. Taking down a turbine isn't as easy as rigging it with explosives and pressing the button. The demo team had to account for wind speed, not to mention the 345-foot tower. One bad calculation, and it could fall in the wrong direction. All 21 towers came down over 48 hours. We assume they were hauled off to a recycling plant somewhere in Texas. Fort Huachuca is an army installation in southeastern Arizona, about 15 miles north of the US-Mexico border. It was built in 1877 and is still in use today. At any given time, they're home to over 24,000 people, including active military, family members, and civilians. In 2011, a $2.8 million wind turbine went up outside the fort. It supplied energy to over 300 homes as the fort made efforts to generate its own energy. But after 7 years of service, the tower was scheduled for a controlled demolition. Now, the crew didn't have permission to use explosives on the base, so they had to cut it like a tree instead. That meant making precise cuts through 1-inch thick steel. Then, all it took was a little push.
Probably go down all by itself. That's why what we mean by...
The idea is to cut the tower until the hinge point, or the point of no return, as Safety Officer Todd Kimball calls it. This is where the tower can still stand on its own, but it could also come down with the right amount of force. Once the hinge point is ready, the crew puts some tension on the cable. Then all it takes is one tiny cut for the tower to fall over. Ideally, the turbine falls where they want it. There were power cables in one direction and underground utilities in another. It's also very hot and very dry in southern Arizona. A small spark could set the whole field on fire. Another reason why explosives were out of the question. To some, rolling green hills full of wind turbines is a pleasant sight. Others think they're an eyesore. But no matter where you fall, nobody wants to see one on fire. While strolling through the countryside, a local stumbled upon a flaming turbine in the distance. While they missed the moment it burst into flames, they recorded the fire's destructive power. Lightning strikes are the #1 cause of wind turbine fires, but it doesn't look like there was a storm cloud in sight. So this turbine likely caught fire due to electrical malfunction or human error. According to Fire Trace International, a company specializing in fire suppression systems, turbines risk catching fire toward the end of their lifespan. The old electrical components and wiring can easily malfunction. The location also plays a factor. The turbines in warmer and drier climates deteriorate quicker. Today, the average turbine fire can cost between $7 and $8 million in total losses. If you want to see another video just like this one, then be sure to click the link on screen now. With that, thanks for watching, and we'll catch you in the next one.